What if science could undo time itself? What if every regret, every lost chance could be rewritten with a snap? In the year 2099, one woman invites four broken souls to test the impossible and proves that youth can be restored, but not wisdom. This is a modern retelling of Dr. Heidegger experiment by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Please subscribe to Echoes and Revisions for many more short stories to be retold. Now sit back and relax and enjoy the journey towards the fountain of youth. Dr. Elara Heidegger lived high above the city, her lab suspended between clouds and cables, surrounded by holographic glass that reflected every movement of the neon skyline. Once her name commanded awe in the biotech world, now it was whispered, like a curse. Late one night, she sent four encrypted invitations. Each reached a fallen titan. Magnus Vale, the ex-tech billionaire whose greed collapsed global markets. Colonel Reeves, the war hero who'd replaced his left arm and most of his conscience with military-grade tech. Senator Jasper, charming, disgraced, and hungry for another chance to be adored. Muriel, the social media goddess who'd built an empire on filters, then fell when her true aging face was exposed. At midnight, they gathered in Elara's lab. The air shimmered with low electric hums, screens pulsing with unfamiliar DNA codes. At the center stood a cylindrical pod of blue liquid, softly glowing like the heart of a sleeping god. Elara turned toward them, her voice cool and resonant. I've called you here for my final experiment, a study for rebirth. They gathered around the pod, faces reflected in its surface. Inside floated one rose, withered and brown, its stem tangled in wires that pulsed with light. This, said Elara, is Project Fountain. I've found a way to reverse biological decay, not just in cells but in memory, to restore not only youth but the state of mind. She drew a vial from the console, liquid gold in a glass tube. When she injected a single drop into the pod, the rose started shaking, its petals turning crimson and fresh. Muriel gasped, eyes wide. Magnus whispered, You did it! Elara didn't respond at first. Then she started speaking. Each of you, she said, has tasted success and ruin. You've lived long enough to wish for a do-over. Here's your chance. Drink wisely. 4 vials shimmered on the table, labeled with their names. They hesitated only a moment before reaching for them. The serum slid down their throats like light itself, cool, electric, intoxicating. Within seconds, something in their bodies shifted. Skin smoothed, breath deepened, color flushed into their cheeks, bones realigned, pain dissolved. Magnus flexed his hands, marveling at their strength. Reeves rolled his cybernetic shoulder, astonished that the human flesh beneath had begun to knit around it. Muriel stared into a floating hollow screen and saw her younger face, luminous and perfect again. Jasper straightened, his posture suddenly regal, voice rich with renewed confidence. Laughter filled the lab, the laughter of people who thought they'd beaten death. Elara watched from behind the console, silent. Magnus turned to her. You've done what no one in history has achieved. We could rebuild everything, rebrand, relaunch. Jasper clapped him on the back. The public loves a comeback story. Muriel lifted her lens, broadcasting herself to an invisible audience. #reborn, she exclaimed. Elara leaned on the console. Do you feel wiser now or merely younger? Reeves smirked. Wisdom is for the weak. They began to move about the lab, touching things, teasing, flirting, arguing. Old rivalries reignited. Magnus and Jasper debated control of the technology. Muriel pitted them against each other with practiced charm. Reeves poured another dose into his hand, ignoring Elara's warning. For a fleeting moment, the air felt feverish, charged with power and vanity. Then the lights began to flicker. It started slowly, a shimmer in Muriel's reflection. The flawless skin on her cheek glitched, revealing brief flashes of wrinkles, then smoothing again. She gasped and reached for another vial. Magnus snatched it first. It's wearing off, he shouted. We need more. Elara's voice cut through the chaos, low but commanding. The serum was never meant to last. You were supposed to observe, to learn. Learn? Jasper barked. To grow old again? No, we won't go back. He lunged toward the control panel, but Reeves blocked him, the servo motors in his arm humming. I'm not letting you ruin this, Reeves snarled, his eyes burning with addiction to the strength he'd just regained. Muriel screamed as her face flickered again, now half youthful, half decayed, like a hologram splitting apart. Magnus tried to steady her, but his own reflection showed his features sliding between decades. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, like a fast-forward reel of mortality. Elara pressed a key. The pod hissed. The rose inside shriveled once more. The serum in their veins reacted instantly. Energy turned to tremor, youth to fragility. They staggered, clutching their chests. You were given a gift, Elara said quietly, and you made it a weapon against yourselves. Jasper collapsed first, mumbling campaign slogan through broken teeth. Muriel tore at her holographic makeup, leaving streaks of glitching pixels across her face. Reeves stumbled, his cybernetic arm spasming uncontrollably. Magnus's last words were a promise or maybe a curse. Elara stood untouched in the center of it all, surrounded by the wreckage of ambition. They lay scattered across the floor, not dead, but aged beyond recognition. Dr. Heidegger moved among them with slow precision, scanning vitals, taking notes. Her expression was unreadable. At last, she approached the mirrored wall. Her reflection met her gaze. Younger, flawless, smiling faintly. It moved a second too late, as if lagging behind reality. Elara touched the glass. I suppose I passed then, she whispered. The reflection tilted its head, almost approvingly. Behind her, the monitors displayed a single line of text. Project Fountain complete. Results: human nature unchanged. She uploaded her findings to the global network, encrypting them under the code Heidegger_2099. Within seconds, fragments of her serum's formula began replicating across hidden biotech servers worldwide. Elara watched the sunrise through the sparkling glass of her lab. The city below glittered. Billions of people chasing youth through pills, filters, and code. And that's the end of the modern retelling of Dr. Heidegger's experiment. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. At Echoes and Revisions, we bring timeless tales to modern ears. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep the echoes alive. Thank you.